Good morning. Welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast, a very special edition here. I have an amazing guest. I'm so excited that she is here. This is Kylie Barber. She is currently running for the House of Representatives in Arizona. And here's the thing that I know most about Kylie when I met her is she is also a dreamer. And I am so glad that you were here. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you.
So let's just start from the top. How in the heck did you decide that you wanted to run for political office? Because that sounds like madness to me.
Okay, so great question. I think, most of the time people kind of retort with, well, because I'm a little crazy. And I think that fits.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's what you want your constituents to know? I'm
right.
going to be your leader because I'm crazy.
Because I'm nuts. Well, I think listen, top performers have psychopathic tendencies.
Are you a top performer?
I'll say it. I like to perform and I like to achieve.
Yes.
All that being said,
yes.
If you want me to be genuine.
I do want you to be genuine. Yes.
Oh gosh, it's a long story. But at the end of the day, it's a spiritual impression. And it's one of those things where you feel like you're called to do it. And when it crossed my mind, I said, no way.
Right.
There's no way, right? Like I had all the excuses not to do it, whether I was too young or wasn't experienced enough or you name it. I totally dismissed it, but it kept coming back to me and it just ended up being one of those things where I couldn't deny it and I couldn't walk away from it.
Wow. And so it's so funny you say that because, I do stand-up comedy and I'll often ask, why would you choose stand-up comedy? I'm going, I didn't.
Right, it chose you.
Stand-up comedy chose me. There are times I wish it didn't,
right?
Because it is a pain in the arse, and it is so hard, and it's so frustrating, and there's just constant failure. You know what I mean? And just trying to figure it out. But every time I've tried to quit, like very distinct things will happen. I feel like that scene in Godfather when Pacino's like, just when I think I'm out, something comes pulling me right back in, and. Which is literally what I feel. So I love that. So you had this inclination, you had a spiritual inclination so you may not even know why you're doing this.
From a big picture standpoint, no, because hindsight's 2020
right.
And I'm still figuring it all out. But as far as like my purpose, I definitely understand my purpose, but we'll see how it pans out, at the end of this.
So tell me about that. So when you said your purpose, there's something behind that. So it feels like you did have some sort of life mission or something that you had defined, but then this thing sort of came out of right field. So now you're going, well, how do I reconcile what my purpose is with this thing that I'm feeling called towards? Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, you did. Wow. Okay, so big question, great question. So I guess... should we take it all the way back to my childhood?
Let's take it back. This is the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. We get to the bottom of things. We do not keep it trite here.
Oh my gosh.
And we're going to get into that dump him hat too, because we need to know what's going on there on a Valentine's Day.
Hey, you know what? Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's
Just
Day
dump
too.
him.
He's not worth it.
Right. Some are, hopefully.
Some are, hopefully.
Anyways, okay, put a pin in that. We'll come back to that. So, childhood. So I was raised to be a wife and a mom, and I still very much want to do that.
Right.
Although for whatever reason, my life has not even in my life yet.
Yeah.
Right. So what do? Do I just sit on the porch with my lawn chair and wait and do nothing and just feel entitled for somebody to come and, save me and have the fairy tale ending? Maybe that works for some people, but doesn't work for me.
Right.
And so I guess my philosophy is you have to continue to build yourself and become the person that you want to be with eventually. And then at some point you will attract them into your life. Right. So there's sort of that motivation. And also I think that I'm a God-fearing woman, and I think that God has a purpose for us in this life, and his hand is in our life on a daily basis, and he will guide you and direct you so long as you are open and willing to receive that guidance and direction. And I also think that as we're trying to figure out our life's purpose, if we come across an impression that seems out of reach, that seems larger than we are, and also at the same time we feel impressed to pursue it, I think that's when you kind of know you've discovered your purpose. When it's just outside of your reach, so you have to rely on God in order to accomplish it, and you take that leap of faith, not knowing how it's going to work out, but just trusting in the process and knowing that God has purpose for you, and you have to rely on Him in order for it to manifest.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I
Totally.
feel like I'm babbling, but...
Oh, no, that's incredible. And I love all of this idea of, it's like life is this way, and I want something that's outside of what my life is, right? Like there's this circle. Everything I experienced was within this circle, but there's something outside of that circle that I want, that's desirable. I don't know how to get it.
Right.
I'm maybe even afraid to get it. I don't know what the path is. Maybe it seems unreachable. Maybe it even seems impossible. And then having this inclination that, which is so funny because it seems like totally out of, it seems like you're going left when you should go right, because it sounds like your purpose. Well, no, I really wanted to be have a family and be a mother and a wife, which is fantastic. And it's like, you want to know how you're going to get that? Politics.
I know. What?
Right?
What? No.
Right. And it's going like, wait, but that doesn't.
No.
But how does that,
Yeah.
And so even then it's kind of like, wait, I have this thing. The family is here. And yet I'm feeling inclined to go this way out of the circle in almost maybe the opposite direction.
It seems total opposite.
Right.
Absolutely.
But just trusting that, but that's where I'm feeling inclined to go. My version of what you experienced in my life is I always wanted to be a comedic actor. And when I moved to LA, I was like, I want to get on a sitcom. I want to be like Dwight from The Office. I want to be that weird character on a TV show. And this pathway opened up for me to move to LA. So I'm like, oh, I'm doing the thing, right? And I also kind of did stand-up. And yet all the time I would get stand-up opportunities. And I would start feeling inclined, well, you need to do stand-up. And I'm like, I don't want to do stand-up.
Right. And you kind of get pouty a little bit.
It's hard.
Right.
It's so hard.
It's so hard.
Acting comes naturally to me. Like, give me a script. I will bring it to life. You know what I mean? But like, I have to sit down and like write my life story.
I have to apply myself.
And apply it.
I have to grow.
Right. And I got to like do comedy and then write it and go do it in an open mic and have it not be funny.
Right.
And then go back and like, well, people don't like me very much. Right. So let's go do that again.
Experience rejection.
Yeah. Constantly.
Right. Yeah.
While also, and stand-up comedy is its own thing, which is also so competitive. And there's like 100,000 comics who are better than me and funnier than me and more naturally gifted than me who are also trying to get that big thing. And here I am like, okay, well, I guess is
right.
But again, like I remember specifically, I had this experience in LA. So I was like 2 years in, and I had somebody had booked me on some like really small, it was literally in the alley behind like a bar in Hollywood. And that happens all the time. Like just these random small indie stand-up comedy shows where there's going to be nobody there except the other 13 comics who this booker books and hopes that somebody will bring an audience, and nobody will.
Right.
And I just remember when I'm like, I just don't have it in me.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if I was in the hustle mode, like this is what I want to do. It's like, it's stage time. It's an experience. But I'm going like, I just don't have it. I don't have it in me. And so I just call the guy. I'm like, hey, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to have to miss tonight or whatever. And I'm like, if I'm just going to turn down an opportunity, probably an indication that I'm on the wrong, I shouldn't be doing stand-up. Okay. Anyway, that's not fair to the other comics.
Right. Who are there.
And who are hustling and who are all in. So I like, in my mind, I'm going, I'm quitting stand-up comedy. And I'm just going to focus on acting. And I feel so good about that.
Right.
And then a day later, I get a call from this booker in Arizona who was also my first stand-up comedy teacher. He goes, hey, Paul, I just had a headliner drop out next week. Can you come back to Arizona and headline this comedy show? I can't turn down that opportunity. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And so then I go and I do that show and it goes very well. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm not quitting stand-up comedy, and anytime that's happened. And so I kind of feel that anyway, when you were saying that, I'm like, I wonder if that's a similar thing of like, well, I want to go pursue, dating and really being selective in my dating process and finding the right man who's going to build that life with me and who's aligned with it. And then you have a dump him hat on your head, which makes me feel like that process has maybe not gone well.
You know what?
Let's talk about it. On Valentine's Day, this is supposed to be about dreams. What do we really want to hear about? Bitter relationship breakup stories. That's what gets the ratings.
Man. Oh, that's what gets the ratings. I mean, how apropos on Valentine's Day.
You wore the hat. There was something subconscious in your mind that this is what you want to advertise to the world. Whether that was deliberate or not, your subconscious was like, hey, world, this is what's going on with me.
Okay, well, so there's a lot of moving parts to the story.
We have all the time in the world.
No
time limit.
So the hat comes from, it's kind of an inside joke between one of my best friends and I. Her name's Rhea. And a couple weekends ago, we went out and one of us decided that we need to wear this hat. It needs to come out. We just need to do a social experiment with it.
Okay.
And people couldn't leave us alone. And it's a great conversation starter. And, depending on the person who approaches you, sometimes they take it personally. And we had some guys ask, why do you hate men? And get a little bitter. And it was not, it's just fun and playful. Anyways, so there's that. I mean, oh gosh, as far as relationships go, man, you think you're over it and you think you're good until you have to talk about it to somebody else.
We don't need to go down this road, by the way. That was the thread that got pulled on. This is a podcast about dreams.
Yeah.
But that is interesting because part of going for dreams is also, I don't know any other path that doesn't involve just absolutely horrific discouragement and rejection and heart-wrenching discouragement and things not going well. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that I think is interesting is your dream actually sounds like family.
Absolutely.
And if that hasn't happened, then that probably means there's been some discouragement around there. And the reason I like to get into that is because that's such an important part of the story. And I think so often, we hear the end part like, oh, I followed my dreams and everything worked out.
Right.
But that makes, I think, gives a little bit of a false impression of all of the, oh no, I had my face in the dirt for years,
teeth
decades.
Kicked in, over and over, and over again, absolutely. But I mean, I am learning, right? Like as I'm growing,
we're all learning and growing. It's a process,
right? It is a process, and I hate it.
Oh, process,
and I hate it. It's so gross, right? It's so gross, and I honestly think that the relationships that you have in your life, right, are there to teach you something and to grow. And they are a reflection of all of your crap. I know. It's like you hear the stuff and it becomes so trite, but then you live it and it's so true.
Right.
It's so true. I don't really know what thread to pull on here, but you have to grow into the person that you want to attract in your life. And I think each relationship that you have, obviously you learn something, whether you make it a positive story or you become bitter and you wear a dump him hat, right? It's up to you.
So are you bitter? Because that's what I'm trying to determine. Because you're like, it's lighthearted and playful. And then you're also like, I have my teeth kicked in. But no, I don't hate men. They've only kicked my teeth in.
Oh my gosh. I know. No, I'm not bitter. Again, this is very playful and it's a great conversation starter.
True.
And it,
Worked here.
Exactly. See, right? Yeah, it's working.
Like, I need to put this hat on just in case this podcast is boring.
Right? Spice it up.
Just in case.
Yeah, you just never know, right? You got to cover all
you just I was just like, tell me about knitting.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I just lost my train of thought. What?
Well, we were talking about relationships.
Oh, yes.
And we're flirting on, I feel like we're flirting on going down a path that might be a little dark, and we're trying to decide if we actually want to go there or not.
Okay.
Am I picking up on that correctly?
Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay.
Listen, it's too late to be scared. It's time to
Too late to be scared. So let's talk about it. So what happened?
What
happened?
What happened? Well,
You
okay.
don't need to drop names. You don't need to throw anybody on the bus unless you want to.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to. Yeah, that's not what I'm about either. Well, a couple years ago, back in 2020, I found somebody who I thought that I wanted to be with. And 2.5 years or so of, back and forth, it didn't turn out to what I hoped it would. Honestly, probably for the best. I think that I'm sort of at that point where you can be grateful for it. Some days, right? Other days,
Yeah,
it's
the days
still
that you're not in the corner crying
Right.
and eating bonbons.
1,000%.
One of those
Right.
days.
Yeah.
And it's not one of those days you're like, man, am I grateful?
I know.
Thank you, God,
Right.
for bringing that trial and tribulation.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I'm growing.
Because now I'm growing and
now
I've
it's a
grown.
process. When we say process, can you feel the weight on that? Like how much we hate that is
Right.
truth?
Yes,
That
right.
process,
The
just like the
process.
eating process?
Right. The disdain for the process.
Yes, I love
Right.
process, don't you? Isn't that what gets you up in the morning?
Oh my gosh. No.
Wake up.
Right?
I get to go through a process.
I get to do the process.
Yeah,
I get to
right?
grow today, right? You know what? This is actually reminding me a lot of some of the parallels, surprisingly enough, of bodybuilding.
Right. Which, by the way, I didn't
right.
mention this up front. Kylie is also a professional bodybuilder, which...
Working on it. Working on the pro card, but competitive nonetheless.
Competitive,
for sure.
so you're not pro.
No, not yet.
Not
no.
yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Is that still in a dream of yours?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're
Sure.
pursuing political office while also seeking to compete in professional bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good time. You know what? A lot of the goals and sort of the lifestyle align because bodybuilding, you have to have it dialed in, right? You've got to have your diet, excuse me, dialed in.
Got
You're
some water
very,
there for
thank
too,
you.
by the way.
Yeah, diet's dialed in. And if you have control issues, bodybuilding is for you because you have to control just about every single aspect of your life.
Right.
And
do you have control issues?
I didn't think so before, but just the fact that politics appeals to me and bodybuilding appeals to me tells me there's an opportunity for exploration. Maybe
there's a process.
Maybe there's a process of control, right? That I should explore.
You can uncontrol things.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Uncontrolled.
Well, so what's
That's scary.
So what is the healthy antithesis to control? Which, by the way, because I don't think all control is bad.
No, I agree. Right.
But I think, when somebody accuse somebody of like, oh, they're so controlling, that's perceived as negative. And I think usually in that context, it probably is. But but what I'm hearing is like, well, discipline.
Right. Yes.
And commitment to goals and commitment. I work out sometimes.
Yeah.
And just like doing anything is hard.
Right.
Because it is so easy to do nothing.
To not. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's 9:00 and I haven't gone to the gym yet and got my squats in. It is 100% easier to not go to the gym and do the squats.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to have that sort of discipline, it's there is a bit of non-negotiable, like this isn't really a negotiable thing.
Right.
In order to accomplish, at least in that specific genre, and probably in any genre, really. Like even with mine, it's a lot easier to not go to the open mic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Than to go to it. And it's a lot easier to not sit down and write stuff that may never even be seen again or heard but that's just the process. And that's the discipline of like, yeah, I don't have to write.
Right. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to go to the
gym.
Eat healthy.
Don't have to.
Right. You don't have to go to the open mic.
Right.
So why do we do it then?
Yeah.
Right.
So why do we do it?
So why do we do it?
It's a big question.
Yeah, it is a big question.
Why do you do it?
Well, because there's a certain element of intentional adversity that I think that you need in your life in order to feel alive. And also, you could live in your parents' house and play video games and eat Cheetos and have your mom throw down pizza rolls for your entire life. But do you think that are you going to be happy with yourself? Are you going to respect yourself? Are you going to be happy with your life? I don't know. Maybe some people want that. But I think we're designed to grow again, right? And so where any growth occurs, there has to be adversity. There has to be resistance, right? Even when you're in the gym, right? What makes your muscles grow? Resistance. You tear that muscle apart, you break it down, and then it grows back bigger, right? So with open mic, I would imagine there's that resistance of going, right?
Yeah.
Like you're feeling the anxiety, you're feeling the fear of rejection, but then you go up, you do it, and then afterwards, I mean, you tell me I haven't done, stand-up comedy, but I would imagine that maybe you have moved the needle just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you would like to think so.
Right.
Unless it goes so bad that you go
backwards.
What am I doing with my life?
Right. Yeah.
But I think that's also part of it. Right. Is to have the what am I doing with my life? Mm-hmm. Because you're right. Quitting is always an option.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, well, and again, like I experienced that, as I said in LA, like, oh, this isn't for me. I should quit. And then, but again, something like this thing happened, which was outside of me. And by the way, quitting is still an option.
Yeah.
I could have told that booker, like, no, I don't want to come headline your gig.
Yep.
But again, I just kind of knew, like, well, no, this is really an opportunity here. And there's a reason this opportunity came. And there's a reason I need to be in stand-up. And I can fight and resist or just not do it all that I want to whatever peril that leads me to.
Right.
Or I could just go, well, this is what's calling to me. I don't know why it's calling to me. It seems like I want to be here, but I'm getting called over here. And here I am, still doing it. And still trying to figure it out. So
right. So to add to that, if I can, I just like through this process of figuring out how to run for office. Obviously, there's a lot of fear, right? Like, I am growing, and I just have realized that every time I try and reach just outside of my comfort zone or just outside of, I think it's some psychologist, Vygotsky, potentially has coined it the zone of proximal development, right? When you...
Hold on. Zone of proximal development.
Right.
Okay, I'm trying to unpack what all of those words mean. So zone, proximal is this within a proximity, development.
Yep.
So am I understand that to mean like you have this zone and then there's what's within a certain level that I theoretically could reach.
Correct.
Right. Like this is like outside of proximal development. If I'm like, I'm 42 and my dream is to throw a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl and go compete against Patrick Mahomes next year.
Yes.
That's outside of the zone of proximal development, because let's be honest, that ain't happening. But if I'm like, can I see all 6 abs in a year?
Right.
Maybe that's within the zone of proximal development.
Yep.
I figured that out intuitively.
Yeah, nice job.
Learning and growing because I went through the process.
Because you did the process.
Okay, so
exactly.
All right. So tell me about the guy in the zone of proximal development.
Right. So
are we shoe twins?
Oh my gosh, are we Nike?
Very close. Nike
babies.
Not exactly, but
similar.
Okay, Nike. You better give me a sponsorship now.
Nike babies.
All right. Okay.
Shoot. Now, okay.
Zone of proximal development. Tell me about this guy.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I don't know if there was a guy. Was there a guy?
Oh, I thought you said you had a coach or something, or did I make that up in my mind?
I was talking about the psychologist who coined the term zone of proximal development. And I think John Vygotsky, I don't know. It's probably not. You'll have to go back and look that up. Anyways, check my sources. Okay, so I just have realized in my life, anytime I'm trying to reach outside of that or expand that sort of zone where I'm comfortable in, I show up in my life and I'm scared and I want to avoid.
Yeah.
And I want to play small and I want to call out and say, hey, I'm not feeling good. I'm not going to show up. So regardless of whether that's politics, regardless of whether that's bodybuilding or going to grad school or whatever it was, I always showed up in my life that way. And so it just made me realize the external factor is not the issue. It's me and my unwillingness to grow, right? So wherever I go in my life, I'm going to have to face those feelings.
Right.
I'm going to have to face the fear of rejection. I'm going to have to face...
let's make sure.
Oh, there we go.
Too far. Yeah.
Going to have to face, wanting to play small and stay safe, regardless of where I go in my life. So might as well just face it. Might as well just work with it and deal with it and lean into the discomfort. Because this is so trite, and I'm sure everybody has heard the saying, but the task doesn't necessarily get easier. The weights don't get lighter. Your capacity to sit with the discomfort grows.
Yeah.
And that's the process,
yeah.
right? Leaning into that discomfort.
Yeah. I remember, even starting this podcast, I had wanted to do it for a while, and I'm just going, really?
Right.
Another podcast in the world. Nobody's going to listen to it.
Right.
Nobody's going to care. You know what I mean? Even if it's going to take years of doing this for it to even have a chance of getting traction,
Right.
And it's all of the excuses and all the reasons not to do something. It's like we talked about before. It's like there is always a reason not to do something. Yeah. And it is always so much easier than to figure out,
right?
How do I podcast? What microphone should I get? What's the equipment? How am I going to film it? What am I going to do with this background? Am I going to do,
Yep.
And just going through all of that and still doing all of that work, well, knowing that there may not be immediate success. It's even right. It's like working out. Like I go work out once, I feel like crap afterwards, everything hurts, and I look in the mirror and I look exactly the same.
Right.
And then I go the second night and I work out and it's hurt and I'm sore. I look in the mirror and I look exactly the same. Yeah. All I know is that probably after about a month, 2 months of that, I might look in the mirror and go like, I think I might look a little better.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
And that's when you were talking about the open mic. It's like when I do the open mic, I'm probably not actually that much better at comedy when I get done with the open mic, especially if it didn't go well.
Right.
And all this material that I thought would be funny turned out wasn't really funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And then I kind of go, well, that wasn't funny.
Yeah.
And then I have to go home and go like, but next night.
Right.
I'm going to come up with something that's going to be funny. And then I go, and it's not funny. And then it's like the next time it's going to be funny. And then even still, I'll have people say all the time, like, oh, does it ever get easier? Like, you look so confident up there. I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah. Interesting.
Right. There's never been a stand-up comedy show where beforehand I'm like, I got this.
Really?
Never once. Never.
Wow.
It's maybe a different level of some sort of anxiety, some sort of
okay.
Even if it's material that I know that works, like, well, what if this particular crowd, you know what I mean?
Right.
What if this particular scenario is the right combination of people, that are like, oh no, and that has happened. We're like, I can be doing a set for a while that works and everybody's loving it, but then I get in this certain situation and for whatever reason, something's a little off. I don't engage the right way, and then it's just a rough experience. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think about that. It's like professional quarterbacks. I keep using football analogies. I still got the Super Bowl in my head. It's like even professional quarterbacks go out there and have a bad game. Right. Like Tom Brady had some bad games where he threw a bunch of interceptions and didn't win.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And I remember the same thing with bodybuilding, you know what I mean? To where like you've trained your body to this point, but every once in a while, maybe it gets less and less, but every once in a while it's like, no, it's just not happening for me today.
Right.
And I'm sure that'll happen even in the political realm. You're going to be cruising along, things are going well, and then you're going to have these days, you know what I mean, where like I got crushed in that debate.
Yes.
By the way, that's a world I really don't know much about. So I would be really curious, because I know it's new to you as well.
Yeah.
What are you learning about the political world? And by the way, I feel like the microphone's now covering your face.
Uh-oh. Okay.
And we want to see your beautiful face.
Okay.
I think that's the perfect.
Is that the perfect?
Yes.
Okay, we got the perfect.
I have control issues. I don't know if I...
That's why.
Closer. No, further away. No, within 2 inches. Where are you going to be tomorrow? With who? When? What time?
What?
Why? Huh?
Oh, wow. Flashbacks.
Oh my gosh. Oh no, did I?
I'm just kidding. No, we're
Okay.
not. We have resolved it.
Wait. Who's we?
Me and all of my personalities.
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding.
How many do you got?
I think about 7.
You got 7 personalities?
Yeah.
You sure you want me to air this when you're on the verge of an election?
I mean,
like,
you're going to
I'm
edit.
crazy. I have multiple personalities. No, this is going on unedited, long form. Just FYI.
Perfect. Send it. I'm not afraid. Listen,
Okay.
most of them are friendly. I'm kidding.
Some of them are like, dump him. The other ones are like, dump him.
You get it.
I
for
get it.
sure.
I get it. Yeah, we all have multiple elements to who we are. And
Yeah,
we show up. on any given day.
multifaceted, right?
Isn't it?
Multifaceted.
Not a personality disorder, doctor. All right.
Yes.
So talk to me.
Yeah.
How has entering into the political, and I'm really even like just the technical stuff. Like, how do you even do that? How do you sign up?
Right.
And how do you start? And how do you, talk about what you've experienced? And because it hasn't been that long since you declared.
Correct.
Which, by the way, is how I met Kylie, by the way, is I did stand-up comedy for her announcement.
Yeah, my campaign launch party.
I was about to say coming out party, but that's a very different
Yeah.
party.
Yeah.
Very different for your launch party. And you want to talk about nervous because I'm going to go do material in front of political people. I'm not a political person.
Yeah.
You know, what if our political ideals don't align and then it's weird?
Right.
And I'm doing material that's very personal to me. I've sort of changed my comedy style even the last 6 months based off of a relationship that I got out.
Oh boy.
And it's very vulnerable, and I'm talking about breakups and calling the suicide hotline. It's like, and so like it's very vulnerable, and I'm going, these people at this political party who don't even know me, are they gonna like this?
Yeah.
Anyway, I just made it about me again. So tell me about you.
Okay.
But yeah, that's how I met you. Is
right? Yes, correct.
Stand-up comedy for your
campaign launch
party.
Yep,
yes.
you got it.
And just talk to me about this whole process.
Oh my gosh, this whole process. It's a lot of feeling your way through the dark, and one conversation leads to the next conversation. So if you're interested in running, you file your statement of interest online with the Arizona Secretary of State. And from then you get involved with your legislative district. You find out who your precinct committeemen are, and they've got a monthly meeting that whether you're Republican or Democrat, you can show up at. You can get updates about what's going on in your district. You can meet the people who are politically active in your district, and you have the opportunity to learn about the issues, the most urgent issues in your district. You can address the people. If you want to speak, you can speak for 1 minute or 3 minutes, talking about the service that you've done in the community, some of the issues that you learned about, etc. And from there, it's a lot of, how do I say this? Intelligently, I guess.
Well, say it stupidly.
Right. Say it stupidly. I mean, it's at least for me, these were my priorities. I wanted to learn the Constitution, and I wanted to learn the top issues in our district.
U.S. or Arizona Constitution, or both?
Oh, both for sure. For sure. I am more familiar with the U.S. Constitution, not very familiar with the Arizona Constitution yet.
Right.
But I think that if you want to go into politics, you need to know, what you believe, right? And like what this country stands for. And prior to getting involved in politics, I wasn't very political, but COVID happened. I was working in DC. I moved back here, and similar to a lot of the people in this state, we were sick of the government overreach. And instead of sitting around and complaining, at least for me, I said, I got to do something about it. You got to make action, So, from there, it's you meet with lobbyists, you meet with people who are interested in making change in the district. There are, certain power brokers that are involved.
What's a power broker?
But just people who have paid their dues in the community,
Sure.
who have the right connections, who know of sort of the rules of the game within any specific legislative district.
The game within the game.
The game within the game, right? But I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is the people who are involved in politics, at least as far as I have observed in my experience, are all pretty altruistic, and they do, their heart is in it, and they want to see change, and they are more than willing to help you. If your values align and if you are genuine, then people are more than willing to volunteer for you, to get signatures for you, to volunteer to be your campaign manager, to donate to your campaign. So it's actually been a pretty incredible and humbling experience to witness people be willing to sacrifice their own resources for you. So that's really empowering.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm not, politics is just this whole like,
right. I know.
Go there. It just seems like it can be so vitriol. It can be so divisive. And it, at least for me, I hear all of the horrible, the corruption and all of this stuff. Right. And so honestly, it's humbling to be, for somebody in the trenches. It's like, it's actually in the trenches. It's like, no, these are genuine altruistic people who really do care and have causes that they care about, and I'm sure we can debate all day long in terms of what causes are, should get the attention and the resources of the government and who's right and who's wrong. But just knowing that, at least, at the local level, from what you're experiencing, altruistic,
people who care.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love that. Okay, so you declare online, you sign up. Mm-hmm. I would like to be a politician. And then from there, it's you. So once you do that, then you are in the running. Is that what I'm hearing? Or is there another step of like getting on the ballot? Or at this level, it's like you just sign up and you're on the ballot?
Yep. Yeah. So good question, right? Yeah. Okay. So another process, right? Another political process. So you file your statement of interest, and then in order to qualify for the ballot, you have to get a certain amount of signatures. And that number will be different for each district. Generally, it's around 500 valid signatures. You want to go for about triple that, just to make sure that you cover all your bases, and, some signatures that you get won't be valid. So you've got to get the correct number of valid signatures, and from there you qualify to be on the primary ballot. If you have a primary for specifically the Arizona House, 2 people will be elected on the primary, and then they move on into the general election. Ideally, you don't have a primary, depending on the district, but that's generally the process, right? So you qualify for the ballot, and then you have a primary to elect your, each party's candidate, and then you go for the general election in November.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're in the process. So is that what you're in the process right now of getting signatures to be on the primary?
Yep.
So you are running as a Republican, right?
I am.
So you're running on the Republican. So your goal now is to get 500.
Yes.
Really, it's 1,500. You want to get 1,500 signatures, I assume, with like an email address, or is it like you have to be able to verify the signatures?
Yep. Yeah. So good question. So on the Secretary's website, you just print off a bunch of petition sheets. That's hard to say. Petition sheets, which your constituents will sign. It collects their, first and last name, email, date, and I believe that's all the information they collect. But depending on which party you're running for, you have to get either registered Republicans or registered Democrats, and then independents as well. I'm not explaining this very clearly, but because I'm a Republican, if somebody who was a registered Democrat were to sign my petition, that signature would be invalid.
Gotcha.
So the valid signatures are those who live in your district, those who are registered Republican, and then independents as well.
Independents.
Yep.
Are there Democrats who will sign your petitions just to sabotage you? So you think you have... See what I'm...
Yeah, no, I do see that.
I'm getting into the the backstabbing, the
strategy.
Yeah, competitive thing. Be like, I'll sign. Oh, me and all of my friends, they're all Democrats. You're like, I got 500, and then they get like disqualified.
Yeah.
Did I bring up an unnecessary fear? Am I like...
Now I'm like, crap.
You're like, I need to go back and look at all my signatures.
I do, right? Well, I mean, like, if you're smart, you're going to verify them before you turn them anyways.
Right.
Turn them in anyways. But, I haven't considered that possibility.
Okay.
But
maybe you need a cynic on your campaign team.
I probably do, because
you
like,
need a cynical strategist. Be like,
right.
Okay, you saying this? Here's all the people who might try to show up and sabotage it. It's weird that I would think about that. Do I have some unhealed?
Well,
I need to be wearing a dump her hat.
Maybe you do. We could probably get you one.
Yeah, we can probably get. Okay. How's that going? Can you disclose how many signatures you have, or would that be like tipping your hat?
No. That's a good question.
Do you have an idea?
That I have an idea.
Okay.
I've been collecting them for, like, seriously going at it probably a month and a half or so. I've got around 200.
Okay.
So yeah, we're getting there.
You're getting there. And
yeah.
What's your deadline for the signature?
Oh gosh, they just moved it up. I believe it used to be April 8th. Now it's April 1st, I believe. I'll have to double check that.
You sure they're not fooling you? You see what I did?
Well,
you see what I did?
So I know, right? See?
Maybe they put it on April 1st, but it's all...
Oh my gosh, because it's an April Fool's joke. I didn't even consider that. I know. Wow. Okay.
Things to look out for.
Just
I think you need me on your team.
My head.
Just to
yes. No, I know. Honestly, like my biggest weakness is the fact that, like, I'm unrealistically optimistic and very naive. So
that is not a weakness. That is a strength.
I mean, I don't know. Tell me more.
The optimism, yes. Okay. Optimism is a strength, and don't ever let you tell anybody. Now, naivete will be overcome with wisdom. And
ooh, yeah. Interesting. Wisdom. I think Jordan Peterson. Are you familiar with Jordan Peterson? Right? He's so great.
So I was delving into chaos, and I thought,
yes.
What is this? I mean, what the bloody hell is going on? I'm at McDonald's, and they're like, do you want to supersize that? I'm like, well, what is that? I mean, you're worthless, and you're useless, and here I have order. That's my best Jordan Peterson impression.
So
How'd I do?
Spot on. Why did I bring him up? Because he talks about how naivete can sort of alchemize into wisdom. So anyways, that just reminded me of that.
Yeah, but I think optimism beats cynicism. Like, looking at every, because I don't know. I think if you're too cynical, I think it can. If you're constantly like, what's everything that could go wrong? There's too many things that can go wrong.
Right. Kind of
in a situation, and I think it's paralyzing. I think cynicism often gets mistaken for wisdom and be like, I'm just, but I really think it's fear.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Right. Okay. So this reminds me of sort of one of my philosophies of going about after your dreams. So when I think we might have talked about this a little bit during my campaign launch party, but when you're going after your dreams and they feel out of reach, you sort of have to let go of control and, again, take that leap of faith and not necessarily fake it till you make it, but not be attached to an outcome, right?
Yeah.
And so when I was in elementary school, I was in the band, and I think, I don't know if this is ringing a bell or not, but I would play the xylophone, and I didn't practice, but I would show up, to the performances and just do a remix of what I wanted to play. Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
And then it worked out because the band director would actually compliment me. He would make it a point in band practice to say, why can't everybody practice like Kylie? Like, Kylie is sounding great.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's a little deceptive because I actually wasn't practicing. But the point is, sometimes you just got to show up and you got to do it and not be attached to an outcome, not be attached to looking good or playing good, right? And I kind of have taken that attitude towards a lot of things in my life. I mean, I moved to Chicago and didn't know a single soul. But you just show up and you do it, and you figure it out as you go, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's like 3 threads I want to pull on.
Okay.
First one is the cynicism thing, because I remember this quote by Jim Carrey. He says, so many people, I'm not going to word it exactly right, but he says, cynicism is fear disguised as practicality.
Okay.
It's like, I'm not doing this thing because I'm just being practical.
Right.
But if you're being practical, you would never do anything. Because it seems like nothing worth doing makes a heck of a lot of sense.
Oh, right, exactly. Yeah.
It's like you do the crazy thing and then you try to make sense of it
After.
in retrospect. Oh, well, now that I did the crazy thing, now that I ran for office, it makes sense now.
Right.
And then whatever the next thing is also going to seem equally
totally crazy.
Even starting a podcast. It's like, there's no, this isn't practical.
Yep.
This isn't income producing immediately. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's same with stand-up comedy. It's like, I can't tell you many stand-up comedians who are brilliant, who are struggling and hand them out. But I also notice a tremendous amount of cynicism in them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And almost resentment that, you know, they like aren't famous or whatever. And I'm going, yeah, but I think that resentment is actually keeping you from taking the steps necessary to actually get what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's that thread. Then there's the fake it till you make it thread.
Right.
Which is fascinating. It's so funny that you say that, because I literally last night I posted this video. I'm trying a bunch of different social media stuff right now, which is the space that I'm in terms of being experimental, is like actually trying to get an online following. And everything that I've tried has been unsuccessful.
Oh gosh.
Like I have no viral anything.
Yeah.
And yet I've tried so many different things. And now I'm getting to the point where like I'm a little too attached to this outcome. Like I need to post this video and I need it to go viral. Right. Otherwise, if it doesn't, then I'm not going to get, and then I'm going to, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I tried, which I thought would be funny, the internet didn't, but was doing like a TED Talk where I say like this sort of like self-help trope, but then I like turn and like I have a TED Talk logo on the back and it's white, and then I turn and it goes black, and then I say like the hard truth that nobody wants to hear. And it's so funny they said that, because literally the one I posted last night, I go like, fake it till you make it. Only works if you actually make it.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just a fraud and a failure.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you say that, because, you know, we've all heard that fake it till you make it. And I'm going, or actually just show up as you are.
Right.
And just show up as best as you can. You know, I'm showing up as the xylophone player who's kind of doing my own thing. Or I'm showing up as the politician who's never politicked before.
Right.
And, but, you know, I think there's this inclination of like, oh, I need to show up, I need to have it all figured out, and I need to know what I'm doing, and I can't let anybody see that.
You can't be a learner, you can't be a beginner, right?
Nobody can see that I'm struggling, or like, oh, no, you know. And honestly, I have tried to live a significant amount of my life that way, and I actually don't think it works.
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because you're so worried about trying to keep up this mask of perfection that you don't learn anything. You can't sit there and you can't integrate, and all of the learning and all of the growth comes from the rejection. It comes from all that adversity, because that's like truly what forges you into the actual person you're trying to show up as, right? Like you can't shortcut that. You have to go through the pain in order to authentically be that. People can put up masks all day long. You know, they can fake competence, but you're not confident because you know you're faking it. Right?
Yeah, and you know, and that's actually one of the main reasons I started this podcast, was like, I'm just gonna pull the curtain back.
Right.
Be like, I'm a comedian. This is exactly where I'm at. I'm not famous. I don't have this huge social media following. And this is what I'm going through, having this big dream. This is what I'm learning. This is the process. This is the discouragements. This is what it is. Like, I describe it as it's the part in the Rocky movie, which is the montage, which takes all of 3 minutes in the movie. But that's actually the whole movie.
Okay.
The whole movie is he wakes up every morning, drinks a dozen eggs, runs for 5 miles, runs up the stairs, you know, goes to the freezer and punches the big block of meat hanging there for hours. Like, that is actually what life is. It's the process, right?
Yeah.
Now, what do we do in the movie? We go like, ugh. Ugh, that's not fun.
Just give us the end.
Yeah, just give us
the result.
Sum that part up in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then let's just hear about how he has the big dream and he wants to fight the big thing. And then he gets...
And it works out.
And he gets accepted into the fight. And then he goes 12 rounds with Apollo. R.I.P. Carl Weathers, by the way, who played Apollo. But it's like the most important part of that movie is the fact that he woke up every morning and went to the open mic, went to the gym, went and collected signatures. You know what I mean? Now, that part's boring. So when they make the movie of your life, all of that work is going to be like 3-minute montage. Hey, want to sign up for my thing? Door slam, door slam, door slam, all signed, one signature. Cool. That's enough. Now let's just get to when she wins the election. Right. And let's just build that emotional arc. So yeah, that whole like fake it till you make it thing, I'm just going like, or just show up as best as you can until you make it every day. And just stand where you are and take the next step and wake up every day and just keep doing it. And in my experience is like, as long as you don't quit, there's quitting and winning, and that's it. And if you haven't quit, you are winning.
Yeah. Ooh, that's really good.
Right?
Yep.
And that's it. Even if it doesn't feel like it. You know, even if you showed up and you just didn't have it. You know, like that one night you actually just didn't go to the gym. You know what I mean? Like there was the one night you did it 80 days in a row, and day 81, you're like, I just don't have it tonight. And all of the fail safes and all of the encouragement and all of the whatever, like, okay, you missed day 81. Did you quit though? Did you go, because I missed day 81, all's lost, I'm a failure, I'm a loser, yep.
Slash all the rest of the time.
Forget about, just, you know, and let's just go down the hill. Or do you just wait till day 82 and then maybe day 82 you go, and maybe it's not the best day, but you're in the game.
Right.
Like you didn't quit. And that, and to me, if you didn't quit, that is winning.
Yeah. Yep.
Despite anything else, like that actually is winning. Okay. Anyway, got very TED Talky there, which is ironic because I just talked about how I did skit lambasting TED Talks kind of. All right. So you're out there collecting signatures. You're crushing it. You got about 200. You've got about 300, but we want to surpass that.
Right.
And then, so you're going to these legislation meetings. Or that's probably not the right word. Like town hall meeting type stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you like debated anything? Have you like spoken?
Yeah. So I've spoken.
Tell me about that experience.
You know what? Well, I mean, public speaking, yikes, right? Holy cow. Opportunity for growth there for sure. Haven't debated anybody in front of anybody yet.
Personally? Or like one-on-one?
Yeah, I mean,
some heated discussion.
Right. Define debate. But that's the thing. Like, I am not committed to agreeing with everybody and with everybody agreeing with me. I guess I approach those conversations with a genuine curiosity, because I kind of I'm looking for evidences that my theories are wrong, right? Because that helps you correct what you think, right? Like when the facts change, your opinion changes, right? So I feel like you always have to measure your opinions up against the opposite to continue to find what's true, right? And so you don't have to get emotional. And one of the biggest things that I am not seeing in sort of like the larger political stage is the leaders of our country having the capacity to have dialogue and disagree and do it constructively and respectfully. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we need in this country, because guess what? We don't have to agree, and we're not going to agree on everything. And also, we don't have to call names at the end of the day. We don't have to throw our Legos and our blocks, right? Like we can play nice in the sandbox with each other. And it's the variety, it's the diversity that makes this country beautiful. I truly believe that. But you don't have to call somebody a name if you don't disagree with them, right? So I guess my approach to these conversations is approach it with open curiosity and try on an opposing opinion, kind of like you would try on a jacket.
Right.
Try it on, see if it fits. If you don't like it, then you can take it off. And like, no harm, no foul. No feelings are hurt. Like it's not personal,
right?
You know. But I mean, it's certainly stimulating. It's one of the most stimulating processes I've gone through. I'm always learning something. But no, not any antagonistic debates yet. Anyway, and I hope that I can avoid it because it's necessary.
I'll tell you, and I really don't want to go down this road too much, but there is nothing more disgusting to me than the debates that go on. I'm going, this is just not how you get anything done effectively. And yet, that just is our system. And for some reason, we as a people have not been able to find a better way to, in my opinion, engage the system. But yes, don't want to. I do not want to go down. It's funny because this is a very much political discussion with avoiding politics.
Right.
So very cool. So why don't we, let's see, where are we at? This has been so great. I haven't even been paying attention to the time. Why don't we do a little bit of a wrap up here? Okay. And I would love for you to just have sort of your Oprah moment, have your, your TED Talk, and just have an opportunity to express what you're feeling, thinking, if you were talking to people about going for their dreams, overarching philosophy, encouragement, advice, anything like that. Let's just have a little Kylie moment here.
Kylie moment. Okay. Yeah. Man, I really love this topic first and foremost. I think that if you can get in touch with it, we are all called to do something. I genuinely believe that we are all meant to be great and there's greatness within us. And I think the challenge is battling the desire to stay small and to stay safe, right? Because what does our brain do? Our brain keeps us safe and it conserves energy, right? But if we're safe and we're conserving energy, we're not growing. And you have to be aware of that and try and resist that on a daily basis, because that's where true fulfillment comes and that's where true growth and happiness come from. I think that if you have a dream within you and it feels out of reach, but you feel spiritually called to do it, do it. You can't let fear govern your decisions. And I truly believe as you continue to take the next step, the very next step, whether it's a leap, whether it's just a tiptoe next step, things will align and you will begin to get affirmations that this is your purpose. And despite all of your fear, you do it anyways. So that's it.
The Kylie message. I love that. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Best of luck in the election, whatever the outcome is. It's very clear that you're on this path, you're on this journey, you're being called to it, and whatever, again, the outcome is, and that is so important to just detach. It's the hardest thing for me to do is to detach from the outcome because we want the outcome.
Yeah, I know. That's why we're doing it, right?
Right. That's why we think we're doing it. That seems to be the carrot that keeps us moving. And well, if I don't get the carrot, but really learning to embrace the process and the growth and realize that it's all process and growth, really, as far as I can tell. But yes, I love that. Thank you so much. So glad that you're here. And again, best of luck, and we will be watching anxiously and to see the outcome.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast here with special guest Kylie Barber. I love you all so much. I hope you're all out there learning and growing, following your dreams, having great experiences, and finding some happiness along the way and some joy. And I will definitely talk to you tomorrow. Love you all so much, and talk to you soon.